Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. So awesome. We love to have this opportunity to speak to all of you and educate you on helping you improve your business. And we have a very special guest for you today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick Bonatadabas, and I'm the marketing manager for Hurricane Marketing Enterprises. And we work very closely with Laurel and the Mindful Caring, and she's going to go into more about the mission and what she's going to do and what she's going to talk about. And she has an amazing, amazing presentation prepared for you. And I am so grateful and fortunate to have met Laurel a few years ago, and ever since then had a special connection in thinking similarly, and what she's been able to bring from her knowledge to me has directly impacted me personally, and stuff that I have implemented into my own life that I am truly, truly grateful for. So without further ado, I would please like to welcome you, Dr. Laurel Geise.
Thank you, Nick. I am so excited to be here today, and welcome everyone to our webinar today on how to help your caregivers to overcome compassion fatigue. So let's get started. And let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be able to share tools, simple tools with your caregivers that would help them to overcome compassion fatigue? Yes? Well, in a moment, you're about to discover what leaders in the healthcare industry know about providing tools and toolkits to their caregivers to help them to reduce the impact of compassion fatigue on their life so that they can deliver better quality care. And I promise you that by the end of our time together today, you will actually know a tool that you can use every day, and you can share it with your caregivers. How does that sound? Great. But there's a problem, and here it is: compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue has become a crisis in the healthcare industry. I know you've heard about it. I know you've heard about it. I know that you know what it is. And if you don't, it's called the cost of caring for others. Okay, the cost of caring for others. So all that physical and emotional energy that's given to our patients, and over time that can lead to compassion fatigue. So let's take a look at some of the symptoms of compassion fatigue so that we're all on the same page. Okay, so compassion fatigue, it's highlighted by chronic exhaustion. And this exhaustion, it's both physical as well as emotional. Okay, as well as emotional. So it's physical and emotional. And due to this, with our caregivers, it actually impacts them by reducing their feelings of empathy. Reducing their feelings of empathy as they're delivering services to the patients. We can find that with compassion fatigue, our caregivers can also experience anxiety, overwhelm. Sometimes it actually manifests as irritability and becoming hypersensitive in work situations. Now, another symptom of compassion fatigue is insomnia, is the inability to get the rest that we need to help us to stay physically and emotionally healthy. And all of this combines and results in poor work-life balance, impacting and resulting in a diminished sense of fulfillment. And I believe the solution and the tools that we can use to address compassion fatigue is mindfulness. So how many of you have heard about mindfulness? Yes? So what is mindfulness? What is it? Well, I like to share this definition of mindfulness from Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is one of the pioneers and leaders of bringing mindfulness into healthcare. He's at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, and he's the founder the Stress Reduction Clinic and Center for Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare, and Society. And he has been sharing this within the industry for over 40 years. And here's his definition of mindfulness. So mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way. And write this down: on purpose, in the moment, without judgment. So what does that mean? Paying attention in a particular way. So first, on purpose. So on purpose means placing my attention where I want it to be deliberately. So on purpose, focusing my attention. Secondly, in the moment. So being here right now, not thinking about the past, which is called ruminating, and not projecting into the future, which creates anxiety and stress and overwhelm, but staying right here, right now, focusing my attention deliberately on what I am doing and without judgment. So allowing ourselves, having the tools where we can actually watch situations and circumstances arise in front of us and being able to take that breath and choose my response mindfully instead of reacting mindlessly. Now, another definition of mindfulness is situational awareness. You may have heard of this. So, situational awareness. So, being more aware of what's actually happening inside of me and all around me at any moment. Situational awareness. So, why mindfulness? You may be saying, why mindfulness? Why are we using mindfulness tools to help our caregivers overcome and reduce their compassion fatigue? And the answer is science, and specifically neuroscience. What we know, based on thousands of studies, is that by practicing simple mindfulness tools every day for a few minutes every day can help us to reduce our stress, our anxiety, our irritability, depression, can help reduce insomnia, and at the same time help us to increase our focus, our memory, enhance our relationships, and improve our health. And all of this helps us to overcome and reduce the impact of compassion fatigue in our lives. And when we take a look at the mindfulness journal publications by year, I think this is a really interesting chart and why mindfulness has been getting so much attention in the last 5 years. If you look at the number of research studies that have been published, and this is peer-to-peer scientific research on the efficacy of mindfulness, you will see that the last 5 years it's just because it's hockey sticked, right? That's what we call this chart. It's a hockey stick where literally hundreds of research studies are being done. And why is that? Because we're finding that by integrating these simple practices into our life, these simple tools, it can really help us in many facets of our life, as well as help us to overcome compassion fatigue. Now, Dr. Robert Graham, I met a couple years ago. He's at Northwell Health in New York City, and he was giving a talk at a conference, and he actually started a mindfulness program for the residents at his hospital. And what was really interesting about this is that he taught them mindfulness and to have a mindful moment in the operating room before they started to operate. So just taking a moment to bring their attention into the moment, not thinking about the past or the future, but directly focusing their attention and being ready for the circumstances and situations that may arise. And something that he said really hit me that day. He said, if you care for yourself, you can give better care to others. If you care for yourself, you can give better care to others. And we talked about compassion fatigue and acknowledge that it is literally a crisis in the healthcare industry today. And he shared that it is impossible to be compassionate when you are in this state of compassion fatigue. And that by using mindfulness tools and practices, it is a low cost and time efficient way to improve patient outcomes. So you may be wondering, well, who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, my name is Dr. Laurel Geise, and I was for 30 years a global C-level leader in a Fortune 500 company, managing teams around the world in North America, Europe, India, Australia. And I have been a mindfulness trainer for over 20 years. I'm an expert in mindfulness at work and how to apply these tools into our workday. And I'm also the co-founder of Mindful Caring. So, would it be okay if I shared a personal story with you? You may be wondering, how does a business executive begin to deliver training on mindfulness at work and bring this into the healthcare field? Well, my story really started in Buffalo, New York. That's where I'm originally from. And it was during that time after college that I was actually working in the banking field, and I was going to school at night to get my MBA. And I already had degrees in psychology and information technology, but I wanted to learn more about business. So MBA in marketing was what I pursued. And it was during that time that I actually met Bob, who is the love of my life. And after I finished my MBA, we moved to Cincinnati, Ohio, and then Dallas, Texas. And I have to tell you, life was great. We both had great careers. We're spending our weekends traveling. And one of our favorite things to do was to go to concerts. How many of you like to go to concerts and experience live music? Well, we had an opportunity to go to see the Eagles play at Texas Stadium. And we were getting ready for our tailgating party. And I remember Bob came out to the kitchen and he said, "I don't feel very well, honey." And I said, "Oh, we're going to the concert. So here's 2 aspirins. Lay down. I know you'll feel better soon." But he came out a little while later and he was actually had his hands over his chest, over his heart. And he said, "I really don't feel well." And I just knew intuitively that he was having a heart attack. So I literally picked him up and I drove him 2 blocks to the hospital, took him into the emergency room, and he went back behind those doors. And I have to admit, as I was sitting there, I was very scared because our families were actually back in Ohio and we didn't know very many people in Texas and there really wasn't anyone to call. Well, eventually, the doctor came out and told me that Bob had survived the heart attack. I could go see him. And I remember running to his room in the hospital. And when I got there, I remember kneeling by his bed, holding his hand, and we both just cried. And these were tears of gratitude that we could continue to live our lives together. Well, the next morning, the doctor came in and he said, "I have good news and I have bad news." And he said, the good news is that Bob survived the heart attack with very little damage to his heart. Now, the bad news is that we discovered a tumor the size of a baseball in his lung and he has 6 months to live. And despite surgeries and radiation therapy and chemotherapy and experimental chemotherapy, I'll never forget that moment when I walked into the hospital 6 months later and his doctor was waiting outside the room. And she told me that Bob had slipped into a coma and only had a few hours left to live. And in that moment, I could smell that antiseptic smell of the hospital became very strong. And as I walked into the room, I could hear the beeping of the machines that were connected to him. And I remember I could see him laying in the bed with his eyes closed. And I could taste that acid coming up in the back of my throat as I approached him. And as I knelt down, I held his hand. And that was the only time that he didn't hold it back. And I can tell you that after he died, I went into a very deep depression. And the weeks turned into months and months turned into years until I came to the point where I didn't think I could go on anymore. And it was through a series of very synchronistic events that I actually met Dr. Deepak Chopra. Have you heard of Dr. Deepak Chopra? So one of the leading teachers in the world of mindfulness and meditation. And I learned mindfulness and meditation techniques. And those tools helped me to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and had such an impact on my life that I decided to become a teacher. And I've taught thousands of people around the world how to use mindfulness in their daily lives and to experience the benefits of mindfulness. Well, I had a tremendous career, and after 30 years, I made the decision that it was time to move on. And have you ever had that moment in your life where you felt pulled or felt called to do something? Well, I believe that your soul's calling is the answer to someone else's prayer. I believe that someone right now is praying for you to show up in their lives, to provide a service, to share your knowledge, to share your wisdom, to share that compassion with them. So I made the choice. It was time. It was time for me to bring mindfulness into the workplace. I called my boss and I resigned. And as soon as I did, I hung up the phone and it rang, and it was my mom letting me know that my father had actually been taken to the hospital. He was having emergency surgery. Well, after that surgery, he actually had a superbug and was put into isolation for several weeks. We weren't sure if he was going to live or die. But thankfully, due to all of the caregivers there, he was able to leave the hospital, but he needed home health care also. And it was at that time in my life where the home health care workers came and helped us to take care of my father for several months until he is now healthy again. And that really had an impact on me. The caregivers that helped me when Bob was ill and the caregivers that helped me when my father was ill made me always want to give back to this community. And I wasn't quite sure how. And here's how it happened. I met my business partner, Steve Weiss. And Steve Weiss is the president and owner of Hurricane Marketing Enterprises. And he works with companies to help them to increase their revenue through marketing and sales training. And Steve holds these wonderful boot camp conferences several times a year. And he asked me to come in as a guest speaker. And I said, I would love to do that because I love to talk about mindfulness. So I went to Philadelphia and gave a talk. And after that talk, there were questions from the audience. And we had about 200 business owners in the audience. And this was specifically a home health care uh, group. And the owners were saying to me, Laurel, can we bring this to our business? Can we bring mindfulness to our business? And so I remember looking at Steve, and that was the day we made the commitment that we were going to develop training for specifically for the healthcare industry for caregivers to help them in their workplace and to overcome compassion fatigue. And that's when we actually introduced Mindful Caring. And Mindful Caring is a company where we help you to deliver mindfulness training so that we can deliver better quality care and improve patient outcomes. And the core of the program is mindfulness. So, do you remember this? Mindfulness, paying attention in a particular way on purpose. So, right here, right now, in the moment, not thinking about the past or the future, but right here and without judgment. Being able to take that breath before I respond to the circumstances and situations that arise. Now, what I like to do is contrast mindfulness with mindlessness. Mindlessness. So, there was a Harvard business study that came out that stated that based on their research, we spend typically 47% of our day on autopilot. So, let me ask you a question. How many times have you driven home from work and you get home and you can't remember how you got there? Yes, right? Yes. We've all had this experience. If you've driven a car, you've had this experience. That's mindlessness. So think about what that would be like when you're looking at your day, that almost 50% of your day is spent in that mode of mindlessness. And what if mindfulness practices and tools could help you to be a little less mindless during the day? Can you see how that could positively impact your life? And it's all based on science and neuroscience, and specifically, what you'll hear is about neuroplasticity. So, how many of you know about neuroplasticity? Yes? So, neuroplasticity is what researchers have discovered is that we have the ability to literally rewire our neural circuits, rewire those circuits in our brain. And we can do that with very simple practices by practicing just a few minutes a day. And what this does for us is it helps us to be more focused. It helps us to focus on the moment and not be thinking about the past or the present. And it helps us to actually take that moment, to take that breath, to use a stop technique to actually stop and choose how we're going to respond to a situation. And all of this has led to the popularity of bringing mindfulness and mindfulness tools and practices into the healthcare industry. And there are many simple tools that can be taught to your caregivers in a very short amount of time that they can use directly in the workplace and also at home. So there's another benefit. So there's actually many different types of practices, and we're not going to be able to go through them all today. But there are focused awareness practices that help with the rewiring of the brain so that we're more focused, to help with anxiety and stress and overwhelm. There are open awareness practices. There are body scans. There are mindful listening, mindful conversation, the stop technique, the superhero pose. Those are just a few of the simple tools that you can learn and your caregivers. And today I was thinking, since we only have a limited amount of time, I would love to teach you a focused attention practice. A focused attention practice, which is specifically architected to help to rewire the brain so that we are more focused, so that we are more in the moment, so that we're less stressed, so that we can sleep better, to improve our cardiovascular health and improve our relationships. So, are you ready to learn a quick practice together? Yes? All right, so the focused attention practice. This is a baseline practice that we would teach in mindful caring. So let's talk about, before we learn the practice, the actual mechanics of breath awareness. Okay, the mechanics of the breath awareness practice. So here's how it works. We begin by very simply closing our eyes. And when you close your eyes, you begin to follow your breath. So we're going to focus our awareness on our breath. Then what will happen, and I can guarantee it, is that a distraction will occur. So I have my eyes closed. I'm beginning to focus on my breath, to focus my attention, right? To focus my attention, to have it where I want it to be, when I want it to be there. And then I'm going to start having thoughts in my mind. You have 60,000 thoughts a day, so I can guarantee there will be thoughts in your mind. There will be emotions that you may feel in your body, and there will be noises that you'll hear in the environment, because nowhere is ever perfectly silent. So what happens is you'll be focusing on your breath, and the next thing is you're going to start thinking about, well, here's what I have to do this afternoon, and this report is due, and I have to call this client, and after work, and what are we going to have for dinner, and all these thoughts. Well, as soon as that occurs, you're going to notice that you're not focusing on your breath. And that was your intention when you sat down to practice this for 5 minutes, to focus on your breath. So you're going to notice that distraction, be it thoughts in your mind, noises in the environment. Something took your attention away from your breath. And when you become aware that you're not focusing on your breath, and this is the key, you're going to bring your attention back to your breath. So sounds pretty simple, yes? It is actually a very simple process, the mechanics, but it does take practice. And that's why it's called the breath awareness practice, because we need to practice it. So how about we try it together? Are you ready to try this together? Yes? Yes, I know you are. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to invite you to sit upright in your chair. to sit upright in your chair, because when you sit upright in the chair, it actually signals to your body to pay attention, so it will help. And then I'm going to invite you to focus on your breath. Close your eyes, focus on your breath, and become aware that when different thoughts enter your mind, you're just going to return to your breath. And every time you notice that your mind is not focusing on your breath, you're just going to gently go back to it. That's the practice. So, very simple. So, let's do this together. And actually, I'm going to keep track of the time so that we can do this for a few minutes together. So, now sit up upright in your chair. You ready? Yes. And I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. Now, if it doesn't feel comfortable to close your eyes, that's okay. You can simply shift your gaze down to the floor. Okay? So either close your eyes and shift your gaze down to the floor. And now, as you do, I'm going to invite you to begin to focus your attention, focus all of your awareness on your breath. So, sensing your breath. Simply sensing your breathing, not changing it in any way, not breathing more quickly or more slowly, but just sense your breath. Use it as the mechanism to focus your attention. And being gentle with yourself. Just focus your awareness on your breath. And as you do, you're going to notice different thoughts in your mind, perhaps different sensations in your body, or even different noises in the environment around you. And when any of these distractions occur, I'm going to invite you to just very gently refocus your attention back on your breath. And this is the practice. So we're going to continue to focus our attention on our breath for a couple of minutes. I'm going to keep track of the time. So all you need to do is just relax into this and focus your attention on your breath. And now, keeping your eyes closed for a moment, I'm going to invite you to very slowly just move your head really gently from side to side. There you go, very gently from side to side, bringing your awareness back into your body. I'm also going to invite you to raise your shoulders up towards your ears and then let them drop. When we do that, it helps us to relieve any stress that we may be carrying. And we tend to carry a lot of stress in our neck and our shoulders. And now I invite you to wiggle your fingers. There you go. And wiggle your toes, feeling your feet on the floor and fully bringing your awareness back into this moment. And when you're ready and when it feels comfortable, then go ahead and open your eyes. So how did that feel? Believe it or not, that was a 5-minute practice and it went by fairly quickly. And it's interesting because this simple practice can help you to rewire your brain to help you to become, again, less stressed, less anxiety, less overwhelmed, more focused, have better listening abilities, better memory, and better relationships with your patients and also with your team. So, do you think you could do this for 5 minutes a day? Yes, I think that you could. And I think that you can teach this to your caregivers and help them to also do this for 5 minutes a day. And what's interesting is that the latest research that I've been studying is showing that they are teaching mindfulness to doctors now in medical schools. I actually have two of my trainers are teaching residents at the Mayo Clinic. They're also teaching mindfulness practice to nurses in nursing school. So we can see that it's becoming more and more prevalent within the healthcare industry. And it's been recognized as a need. It's something that we do need within healthcare today to help our caregivers and help everyone who's listening to me here today. And the studies have shown that we can actually measure the changes in your brain from using these practices every day in as little as 8 minutes a day and as little as 8 minutes a day for 8 weeks. And I just read some research that came out from the military who are using mindfulness techniques that said they were actually seeing changes in the brain with 5 minutes a day. So this is a trend I can share with you that is not going away. It's only going to become more and more popular. And you as leaders in the healthcare industry in this field, it's time now for you to bring these practices into your organization so that we can help our caregivers to overcome compassion fatigue, that cost of caring for others, for helping us to address all of these symptoms, including the physical and emotional exhaustion, reduced feeling of empathy, reducing the stress, the overwhelm, the anxiety, helping with our sleep to bring us back into work-life balance. And we've worked with many companies, and here are some outcomes from a mindfulness training that we did. And here was some of the feedback. Based on the mindfulness training, it was reported that our caregivers felt less compassion fatigue, and there was an increased awareness of self-care. And this is important because that's what Dr. Graham stated. If we can take care of ourselves, we can give better care to others. The mindfulness training helped to reduce stress, anxiety, overwhelm, enhance listening skills with mindful listening, and increase their engagement and improved employee retention. All of that from using these simple tools. And I wanted to share just some feedback from the caregivers. So one caregiver stated, I practice when my mind starts to feel overcrowded with thoughts. So there we have that moment of overwhelm. And the caregivers know that they can practice this breath awareness practice and several other tools that we have available that when they start to feel overwhelmed, they can practice for a few minutes and it brings them back to center. Or how about this? It helps me to focus on things that are happening in the moment. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? That was the definition of mindfulness. Focus on what's happening in the moment. We also had some caregivers who shared with us that I use mindfulness. I can use mindful listening when I'm listening to my patients about their feelings, right? So mindful listening, just taking a moment when we're starting to work with a patient and listen to what they have to say, being a little more compassionate and empathetic. And finally, when I feel better about myself, I act with more patience and kindness. So, all of this is feedback from caregivers on their experience and what they felt when they took mindfulness training. So, I believe that mindfulness practices can really help to reduce the symptoms of compassion fatigue, which are including our stress, our overwhelm, and our anxiety, and at the same time, actually enhancing feelings of empathy that will help your caregivers to provide better quality care. And I want to take this moment to invite you to the Caregiver Recruitment and Retention Summit. This is being held November 6th and 7th in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. And if you liked what you learned today, we have so much more to share with you at our summit. And this summit is being hosted by the Institute for Dignity and Grace. The Institute for Dignity and Grace is a nonprofit organization that is helping our seniors to age in place with dignity and grace. And we here at Mindful Caring donate our 10% of our profits of everything that we do to help support the Institute for Dignity and Grace. So, why would you want to attend? Well, here's some of the benefits of attending the summit. First of all, you'll actually receive CEU credits, continuing education credits, 9 of them for attending the summit. You're going to learn about the latest recruitment strategies for caregivers and find out what are they looking for when they come for an interview. And you will learn how to create a culture that improves retention and also discover how to improve patient outcomes and so much more. We have 20% of the ticket sales are actually going to the Institute for Dignity and Grace. And I am thrilled about this to be able to support this nonprofit. And I'll be speaking at the summit. I'm actually leading several of the sessions, and my business partner, Steve Weiss, will also be leading several of the sessions. And we have experts from human resources as well as caregiver recruitment that will be on the stage with us, all helping you to enhance your ability to recruit and retain caregivers. Because we know that you want to be the employer of choice and the provider of choice. So, how would you attend? Well, it's this simple. Just go to this website and register today. And the website is, put this in your browser, it's http:// dignity and grace, all spelled out, DIGNITYAND Grace, GRACE.info, INFO /summit. So again, that's dignity and grace.info /summit. And when you register now, Mindful Caring is providing you with a promo code, and that promo code is capital M, capital C, 100, 100. MC100. And that promo code is good for $100 off the registration fee. So again, dignityandgrace.info /summit. So I would love to see you there in Philadelphia. We have so much to share with you and so many ways to help you to recruit and retain the best caregivers. So I ask you, if all mindfulness did for you was help you to help your caregivers to reduce the impact of compassion fatigue on their life, would it be worth it? Yes, we know that it would be. So sign up today and join us on November 6th and 7th in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. I'll be there, Steve will be there, and our panel of experts, and come and learn strategies so that you can become both the employer of choice and also the provider of choice by using the strategies that we're going to share with you on November 6th and 7th. So again, register now. Promo code is MC100, MC100. So use it to get your discounted registration fee. So dignityandgrace.info/summit. So Nick, I need to thank you for allowing me to share this information with your audience. I am so excited working with your community. This is, it's just, I'm very, very excited about the summit and seeing you at the summit too.
Of course. We always love having you, and the summit is going to be amazing, right in my backyard. I live in Philadelphia, and I think that this has never been done before. This is a brand new event, and we're bringing something together that is really unique. And with everything that's going on, we understand like the caregiver crisis. It's a real thing, and the struggle that so many of you guys are having. And this struggle is not going anywhere. This is going to continue, and it may even get worse. I'm sure you're going to see some stats at the event. You're going to see some graphics that Annalise Gear, one of the speakers from Gear Consulting, I know I've seen some of her presentations. She talks about this and talks about different statistics that show, where this industry is going. And, things that she's going to talk about and implement is going to help. And, at the end of the day, Laurel, I love what Mindful Caring is doing. I remember seeing that video at the boot camp of one of the caregivers that was crying, literally in tears, at what mindfulness has done for her. And that type of transformation is just truly amazing to see. It really shows the power of what mindfulness can do for individuals, especially caregivers. Steve talks about that. Caregivers tend to come from a different background, and they don't always have this type of education and this type of outlet to be able to change the things. And what's so amazing about the things that you're going to learn at the summit is that it's not just about improving the care. It's that your caregivers' lives are actually going to be changed at their own homes. And you have the opportunity to bring that to them, to impact all of your caregivers. And to me, like there's no greater mission than that. Nothing. And at the end of the day, you're a business owner, and you want to have that affect your business. And by affecting their caregivers who are providing the care, they're going to provide so much better care. They're going to be happier. They're going to enjoy more, working with you, coming in every day, less call outs, really just being happy and providing that better care. I saw a video the other day that somebody shared in our community that was a caregiver like throwing around a patient. And it was absolutely horrendous to watch that was something that was going on. And, as a mission, for what we do and how we help our seniors, that cannot happen. And should never happen. I mean, it was literally like I was on the verge of tears watching this video and seeing how this woman was throwing around this person. Now, to be fair, I know there's a lawsuit and within this, and I think it was an assisted living facility. But at the end of the day, we need to have that accountability because these are our caregivers. They're the ones providing the care. they need, like, this cannot happen. And as a goal and as a mission, and I love the mission of mindful caring as well as dignity and grace. And really, it's all about the care. It's all about helping our seniors to have a better life, regardless of their conditions. And so that's what it's truly all about. And if you truly care about our seniors, I hope that you'll consider coming to the summit, because it's really going to be a truly amazing event. So I hope you'll consider attending. I hope to see you there. Laurel, do you have any last notes that you'd like to add?
No, thank you, Nick. I just want to thank you. I want to thank everyone for their time, for being with us today, and I look forward to seeing you in Philadelphia on November 6th and 7th. So please go to dignityandgrace.info/summit and register now so that we can see you, so that we can share all of these new strategies with you to help you and to help your caregivers. So we'll see you there. And thank you, Nick. I'll see you in Philadelphia.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.